We were talking about options before we were rudely interrupted by that brainstorming session. How many people found that of any value to you at all, that brainstorming session? The thing that okay, now here's what I felt. I saw some of the solutions presented. My mind says, yeah, but who'd take a deal like that? But I didn't say it. And the key to brainstorming is don't poo-poo a bad idea and don't applaud a good idea. Because you applaud one and don't applaud the other, that makes the other think his was the bad one. So a polite silence is, damned by faint praise. Polite silence is the same as a boo. So, and we did that primarily to set you up for today's exercise, so you can encourage every weirdo idea there is. Then when you get them all in, say, that's the last idea. Now these are lousy and these are good. See? But we did that to show you the process. And I really like to congratulate. We were just tickled to death that you played. You played the game with us. And everybody participated, everybody got into it. Not everybody put their hand up when we asked for things, because some people don't put their hand up. They just don't do that. But they still participated and used their head. And so that particular exercise was to do two things, to show you there are many, many ways to approach these things. And the other thing is to teach you that you go much, much farther in this business having a group of people around you who will help each other make deals with their ideas and not steal the deals. And most people are scared to death to tell somebody about a potential deal. They're scared they'll steal it from them. And we're trying to tell you, we stress to you the importance of having people around you that are straight arrow type people, high ethical moral codes, will not steal ideas from their friends, won't lunge ahead to grab something just because they can, and will wait their turn to make a good deal, expecting help from each other. And in that light, I also say beware of sponges. Be very aware of sponges. A sponge is a critter without much of a brain that just lives by soaking up stuff and letting nothing out. And people will sit around those sponges in your groups and ask questions and ask questions and ask questions and never put anything back into the pot. And the solution is don't say anything about it. Feed them bad information and break them and get them out of the business. That's what I do. People come and say, one little question, okay, then they ask me how to get rich. I tell them, well, how I got rich, they're going to go broke using my advice, but I'll buy their stuff cheap later on. Pay your way. Lord knows, pay your way. Information somebody can give you is gleaned the hard way. They're either paying through the nose for seminars or out there making all those mistakes. You waltz up and say, hey, tell me the secret of your success. People do that too. Give them bad information. I was a little kid in a very primitive school, so I was a pill. Now, you're looking at a first-rate pill. I was a little miser, and I saved up and got a baseball. And the rest of the kids spent their money in the movies. Then I would play baseball my way. I pitched when I wanted to pitch. I batted when I wanted to bat. I kept the score. If you didn't like it, go home. I just took my ball and went home. Go play with a rock till you get ready to shape up. Nothing's changed. Not one thing's changed. When I was a young kid, I had a car. Nobody else had a car? You had to pay to get in my car. Everything I do, I try to think about it. Who's trying to take advantage of my work for nothing? And it gets under my skin. Now, you guys paid to get in. You guys take the newsletter. You have access to me. But people call up, and I say, what's your number? What does that mean? Well, you don't have a number? No. Call Chris. Chris explains to you, you don't get access to me just because you have a problem. You don't get access to me just because you got money. You only get access to me because you're a customer. And you can't sign up for 3 seminars in advance to get access. You got to come to my seminars to find out who I am and what I'm about. Then we can talk. But you don't get access. And I don't care if you're drowning, I wouldn't throw you a twig. I told one guy, you could be going down in quicksand. I can sit on a bank, eat a knee-high soda and a club sandwich and watch you go down. It wouldn't bother me at all. I don't care anything about you. Give me a reason why I should care about you. I care about people that are unfortunate, not you. So, any rate, I had some point there somewhere which I forgot. But I was having so much fun listening to myself, I just forgot about it. But the point is that you've got to be, in the world that's coming up, you're going to see so many unfortunates, so many people made mistakes, so many people made bad judgments, and you got to ask yourself a serious question. How much did they invest in themselves to prepare for bad news? And if they didn't invest in themselves, let them go. My other metaphor is I'm outside the Titanic, it's sinking, I have a rowboat. I'm saying seats for sale, seats for sale. How much are there? Everything you've got. And if that's too high, sink, because I only got so many seats. You've got to take that attitude. You got to take the attitude. If they won't invest in their own self, for crying out loud, and tend to be sponges off people who did invest in themselves, let them sink. The lifeboat only has so many seats in it. Wrap their little knuckles through your hammer, make them turn loose and sink. And you got to do that. Because otherwise, I talked to somebody this morning who's going along with a tenant sad story. I told that person, you have two choices, whether you're going to support that tenant or support yourself. And I don't care if it's a mother's, a single parent with 18 children, all of them crippled and blind, throw them out. Or you might as well be that woman who's crippled and blind with 18 kids. You just let her transfer her woes to you, throw them out. Get out of the landlord business if you can't do that. Get out fast, run for your life. Because how many people have ever gone broke in here? I mean, broke on top of broke. How many people had people offer to help you? Offered to help you. Slim crowd, isn't it? Slim crowd. Well, remember, when you get so busy, full of compassion, you give all your money away helping other people. Be prepared to be very, very lonely. It's lonely at the top. It's really lonely at the bottom. Be prepared to be really lonely. And I mean, that's the world. And so you've got your biggest job to yourself, and I tell people, your biggest job to society, don't become dependent on society. Do everything you can in this world to keep from being dependent on your neighbors to help you, dependent on the government to help you, dependent on the tax code to help you. You say, my biggest job is never have to call for help. And I've told that to people. I said, somebody come up and say, can you help me? I said, yeah, you just ask me one question, I'll help you. How are you going to help me back? Huh? Next. See, they never think about helping people back. They never think about it. Help me. We're poor. We're unfortunate. We're laid off. And so you got to think about it. We're entrepreneurs here. Nobody helps us. We can go broke. Nobody cares. They cry about farmers losing their farms. They don't care a thing about some poor out guy there with a bunch of houses, fighting it through negative cash flow, zoning regulations, bad tenants, cops, robbers, and the police chase him every day. And they don't think a thing about when he loses his whole fortune, loses all opportunity in life. Not a murmur. Not a murmur. It's about that homeowner who should have been told he could have a 1% loan and shouldn't have been qualified when he shouldn't have been qualified. Now he's going to lose a home he's never paid for. Isn't that tragic? And what about the poor guy that put up the money who's getting wiped out? Not a word. So you got to recognize as entrepreneurs, nobody's on our side but us, and us collectively, us. Nobody's on our side but us. And it's going to be up to us. And if it's going to be up to us, you got to make sure the rest of the world doesn't feed off of you. So the sermon's over. You got to cop an attitude. If you don't cop an attitude and realize how valuable you are, 85% of all the jobs in this country are provided by entrepreneurs. 85%. Corporate America provides the rest of them, or the government. And you got to realize we deserve tremendous credit for what we do for our country and for what we do for ourselves. Never get it. Don't expect it, really. But you got to remember, it's up to you to stay ahead of the power curve. And we're on top of things. Page 57. Options, main feature of options, high leverage, low risk. High leverage, low risk. But additional features are their timing devices that enable you to hold off a transaction until you're ready to close. You hold off that transaction until you either got the money or you hold off that transaction until some event occurs that needs to occur. So we bought a house out here. And we exchanged into it. And before we even closed, literally before we closed, we had a $70,000 profit in it. And I'm prepared to test the resiliency of the tax code, as we say in the trade, and see just how much it stretches and bends and warps and distorts. But I thought it might be a little raw, not quite holding a house till closing before you sold it. They might, some narrow-minded government official might think that was not really an investment. Might possibly have been inventory, which you can't exchange. So we said, we won't do that. So a guy wanted it. School's getting ready to start, and he wants to get in for school. So he said, well, you can buy an option from us. How much were you going to put down? I was going to put $70,000 down, which matched our profit and finance the rest. Great. give us the $70,000 for an option, and move in as a tenant, and we'll waive the deposit on this one, and move in and rent the house until we're ready to close with you. But you got it. Your kids are in school, and you know you can live here. And so he gives us $70,000. Now, $70,000 tax-free to us. Well, a narrow-minded government official might say, what's the chance of him walking away from that option? Nothing. That wasn't really an option. That was a down payment. Those narrow-minded types. So we thought we wouldn't bother him with this one. But he paid $70,000 down, and gave us the right to use the $70,000. It was not placed in escrow, where we could not have reached it. It was given to us as option consideration. And we explained to him, you've just frozen the price. And this is when the market was humming. You've just frozen the price. I both know it's going to go up between now and when you exercise the option. And so that's why you need to let us have the money to use and spend for the next house. And so he did. So we took that option money, went out and spent it for another house. And that option gave us a chance to defer the sale of this house to enable us to qualify for capital gains or for an exchange. Now, everybody understand that? And we had to pay tax on the option money received because we spent it. It was a partial exchange. But the rest of the property was, remember, our basis of property was a result of many, many other exchanges. So the rest of the profit that was in that property was exchanged on up the line. But we were able to get that money tax-free until that closing, which was into another year. How many people would just love to have a certain blob of income this year go into next year? Just cross the year and get into another year. You find some years like that where it all piles up in one year. You hit the top tax bracket, and the next year it'd be the trough. You'd like to move some of that money into the trough. The option will move that money into the trough, which is basically what it did for us. It moved the big profit into another year. And when you know you're going to have a big profit in a succeeding year, then you can plan that year accordingly. Now, I did that when I first got in the option. I did it by accident. Buyers came in. I was a buyer's broker. I didn't work for the seller. I worked for the buyer. And they paid me independent of the commission. And I charged 10%. And the guy said, why do you charge 10%? I said, I don't have a calculator, so I couldn't figure out the other commission. Oh, okay. A lot of you understand. And so as a buyer's broker, I'd go out and drive people all over town, and I'd find these houses, and they'd say, fine, and then they said, we're not interested. Then about 2 days later, I'd find they owned a house and forgot to pay me. So I thought about it a little bit, and I said, what I'm doing wrong. So I went out, and I went to contract on those houses in my name, subject to my getting financing within 7 days, which translated means I couldn't have to close. And I found people were happy. And so I didn't say, would you sell me an option? I says, congratulations, you've sold your house. You know, how many people are brokers in here? How many people say, I want to bring an offer over? How many people ever sold a house in here and had a broker say he's going to bring an offer over? Ever happened to you? Don't you pucker when that happens? Don't you say, it's going to be low? Don't you know it's going to be low? I'm going to bring an offer over. Let me show you how to sell a house. Congratulations, we've sold the damn house. We're going to get a cash buyer. Fantastic. Put on the beer, I'll be right over. Oh, yeah, I know it's $100,000 light, but what the hell? Life is tough. You know, you say, you don't come in and say, I'm going to bring an offer over. I'm not too proud of it myself, but I have to get presented to the law. I heard that one, well, the state makes me make all offers. Oh, learn something about selling. But the point is that in that case, congratulations. We bought a house. What do you mean we bought a house? My name's on the contract. You want to buy the contract from me? Now's the time to cough up the cash. Or it's my house. Get lost. So a few of them were just working me like a trout, and they got lost. Now I got an option, but now I've got total control over the house, haven't I? Now I can really go out and sell something, know I'm going to get paid. And that's when I realized the option is paid so much more than listing. You brokers graduate. Just go ahead and graduate. Graduate into options. Same paperwork. Nothing has changed except instead of using a listing contract, use a purchase contract. Give you a way to weasel out of it, subject to the advice of my financial counselors or something. And now you got control of the property. Nobody can steal it from you. You can list it as owner optionee and multiple if you think you're doing good. Put your own signs on the front of it. Make any terms you want to for it. And as long as you can meet your option commitment, you can trade it and do anything you want to for it. And I made about 7 times as much money per transaction as a broker would make by using options. on average across several years. And it enabled me to retire, clear out of real estate in 4.5 years. I made enough money, you just quit. Options are just too good to not use. And everybody knows about them, nobody uses them. They think lease and option are the same word. It's not. Option's a different word. Lease means you got to go to work. Option means you got a grip on a piece of property, and nobody can get it away from you unless they pay you. And really learn how to use options. So we use it as a timing device for this one property on page 57. And we have the same situation. People live in a house, need money, and they live there 18 months, and it's a big profit, and they're nervous about the market. They want to get out, and they really want to do something. But if they sell it now and capture that profit, they'll pay capital gains. They won't pay ordinary income, but they'll pay capital gains, which may be stout. It may be stout. Capital gains may be expensive property. But if they would take the same money they would need as option consideration, then they have not sold their house, and they can wait till the 2 years are up. As long as they've had the 2 years occupancy, they can wait till the 2 years are up, then they can sell their house and defer the sale to that point. Now, how can they do that? Well, they go down to the bank and get a home equity loan on the property. And how do you get your option? You say, I'll make your loan payments on a home equity loan. Everybody understand that? Now, I didn't say a home equity line of credit. I said a home equity loan. What's the difference? What's the big difference? For how long? Long time. HELOCs are short-term variable rate home equity line of credit. Now you got an option on a house. It's not, if not fully financed, is sort of financed, and you got something easier to sell, and nobody else can sell it, and you bought the option by making the payments. And although they're paying interest on their payment, on that last loan, you're paying principal because your option payments, all payments count toward principal. So you got a kind of a strange little wrap where you suddenly got zero interest financing, and they've got interest paying financing, and you somehow get the benefit of their credit and everything else, and you've controlled the property by just monthly payments. And if it's a really good deal, with monthly payments, you can always find somebody else who will make them for you for half the profit. This course is all about doing business without cash or credit. Pay attention. That's good. That's good stuff. Pay attention. You'll find you can control great big properties by that. And your option terms will say, anytime I don't make that payment, I lose my option. It doesn't say, I promise to make that payment. It says, anytime I fail to make that payment, I lose my option. So if the market goes down below your option, just stop making a payment. Now the bank's upside down. Not your problem, their problem. So if you think about that, you can leverage yourself, super leverage with minimum risk, minimum cash, minimum investment, into some bodacious deals. And these are the deals that you buy that would never make a good rental, never be feasible, would be high maintenance, elaborate homes, gated community stuff, things like that you would never even approach if you had to maintain the payments yourself and keep the property up and figure out how to rent it. But you can control all the upside and some of the amortization by doing it that way with a highly leveraged position. And then the short version long is you can do a lot more of them. And then when the time runs out so they can sell the property under 121, we're not talking about distress cases here, when they can sell the property under 121, then they go ahead and clean up all the debt, your option's over, and you can help find a buyer that'll pay enough to, remember, you don't have to be a broker. You've got an option. You're trying to find a buyer for your option. And you can find a buyer that'll pay enough to give you the profit you want or you need or can get. And the house cleans up and it's gone. And you don't have any lingering debt or anything else. So you got to learn how to use it as a timing device. You also use options for 1031 exchanges. There's all kind of case law on it. Ideally, when you have a 1031 exchange and you only have 45 days to get a replacement property, you go nuts. You go nuts. First place is the fact that you sold your property at an attractive retail price that appealed to you never impacts on you. Now you want to steal the next piece of property. So while you're busy casing the bank looking for the closing hours, the 45-day elapses, you get caught, you pay capital gains anyway. And everybody's the same. Nobody's different. I'm no different. Everybody's the same. I want to sell retail, buy wholesale. That's all there is to it. But sometimes those wholesale opportunities just don't come up to you. So you got to reverse the process. You got to go out and you got to find the wholesale deal you want. And you got to go to contract on it, go to escrow on it as an option, have an option to buy it. An option is nothing more than just a pure contract that you can get out of. That's all it is. And now you go sell your property, find a buyer for your property. But there's no 45-day issue anymore. You've got the replacement property locked up with an option in escrow. As soon as you get your house closed, you buy the next one. No issue of it. Now, I still go through a qualified intermediary because I really want to do an exchange that the IRS likes just fine. IRS hates these I'll trade my stuff for your stuff deals. They hate that stuff because they figure we're up to something, and we usually are. But they love that qualified intermediary stuff because those guys got a business run. They don't want to cross the IRS and go out of business, and it'll be a clean deal. They love that stuff. I've had 1 day deferred exchanges. Paid my gentleman $500, delayed 1 day, and closed the deal as a deferred exchange through an intermediary, simply to get into a format that the government likes. So, but in any event, having your replacement property locked up with an option, you're under no duress whatsoever, and now you can sell your property at retail, buy the replacement wholesale, move your net worth up by 20% or so, and that's my model. You should buy a replacement property for about 20% less than you sold the last one for. That's a standard retail, not distressed market or anything. That's just a plain markup in the business. And you should get 20% every time you turn it around like that, or you shouldn't be turning it around. So if you did that, can you imagine how fast you can build your wealth tax-free by doing things like that? And the option gives you the chance to delay that exchange. Everybody got that? Now, somebody comes to you out of the blue, like happened to me up in Lake Tahoe. Had a tenant up there. I rented through the summer. So I called up about March, say, I'm coming up now in May, be sure to get out. Said, well, I don't want to move. Yeah, but we had this deal, and you said you'd move. I don't want to move. Yeah. He said, let me buy the house instead. Nah, I don't want you to buy the house. I bought a house with spare money. I just have some more spare money. I don't want you to sell a house. Oh, come on, sell a house. Isn't that a nice conversation? No, I don't want to sell it. No, please sell a house. Well, okay, you've been a good tenant. You think about it, call me back, and just say one thing. Give me a number, the highest number you'd ever pay for a house. And he called back and he said, the right number. I said, sold. Now, the real problem was, I want to exchange too. When you have a situation like that, when you got just killer deal and somebody wants to buy something from you, and you just don't want the money, say the same thing they did before. You can't buy the house, you can buy an option. And then I'll go out and buy another house and line it up with another option. Then when I get my other house lined up, you can close this option. I'll use that money to close that option and not pay tax in between. So you can use an option to hold off a sale, or you can use an option to hold off a property purchase. So you can make exchanges. And if you're not exchanging everything you sell that you can exchange, you're crazy. You're just crazy. People say, well, I need the cash. You exchange somebody and say, okay, now remember, I sold mine for cash. I'm buying yours for cash. That's right. And you can have a lot of cash left over after you pay off the mortgage, or I'm taking it subject to the mortgage or whatever. That's right. The only way I'm going to make this deal is for you to lend me that cash back. I'll pay market rates for it, whatever the bank charges, I'll pay you for it. So if I give you $500,000 for your house, I want to borrow $400 of it back at market rates, or we can't do the deal. See what you got going for you? So don't be dumb and take money as taxable when you don't have to. Use your head. Just use your head. That's borrowed money will defer the taxation for a long, long time. And meanwhile, you've got the cash you need to go do what you want to do. And of course, that would not be a non-recourse loan, naturally.